Hey everyone, sorry I didn't post yesterday. I was busy working on a few things, but I'm here today. So going to give you an update on the trending stocks of the day. Of course, let's take a look at AMC, bit of a pullback today. It broke the daily higher low pattern. So that was the first red flag for the bulls today, where you see there was a higher low this day compared to this day, higher low this day compared to this day, and higher low this day compared to this day. And today we broke that pattern. So that was a negative sign for the bulls that it was due for some consolidation. Now, this could still be a healthy pattern over here, potential a little bit of a cup and handle over here. Although on the weekly, I don't like it too much. We rejected the all-time high, three big upper wicks of profit taking, a little too far from the red line. The red line's all the way at $44.60. The red line on the weekly is the 4-week moving average, and I find touches that almost every single week, and we're quite far from that. Okay, so we also have declining volume today and the price decline, and declining volume on a declining price tends to signal to me that there's less buying pressure on the way down. So I don't see that as a good sign. I see mostly red flags here personally. Big upper wicks of profit taking most days, big upper wicks of profit taking on the weekly, overextended, still very overbought on the RSI. MACD is starting to converge, potentially bearish soon. Pulling back on low volume, decent amounts, and requiring a lot of volume to push it up, and rejected closing above that $60 area and broke this resistance area without follow through. So some red flags on AMC I see. So what would we be looking for from here? Well, you want to see if it holds today's low, and I think that's a big key. Today's low is around that $51 mark. Now, can it hold above $50? That's a question. If it breaks today's low, I think we're going to sell off a lot more and drop to that low 40s, mid 40s area, because that's the next support that we'd be looking at. If we hold today's low and then break today's high, then this could be potentially that cup and handle, and it could see continuation. So that's what I would be looking for. A break of the range today might decide the next move in the stock. BlackBerry broke the key support today, and that was a red flag. You know, if I was in, I would add a stop loss right there. I didn't end up holding it. I've been trading it a little bit, but still staying below that red line, showing weakness. And if I was in, that would have been my stop loss. It's around $16.50 Canadian, or around $13.55 or so US. And a break of that was definitely a red flag, and it saw a lot of follow through on the downside. It held this second support over here, which is around $12.33 US, and it held this blue line, which is the 20 exponential moving average. So there is some good signs. You don't want it to see it fill this gap, that's for sure. This gap, the high of this day was $11.61. You don't want to see it go that low and fill this gap. That would show a lot of weakness, and we're declining on fairly low volume. So at this point, not looking too great. Now, what the bulls need is today to be a fake out, it to hold today's low, and then rocket back above this previous support line and regain that line as a support again, so that it would have faked out the bears today, and then it could run if that happens. So as a bull, I'd be watching for, is it going to break this resistance area? Can it break back above it? And if it can, that would be a good sign. If not, we could see further downside and fill this gap down here, and that wouldn't be a good sign for BlackBerry. It has been on a steady downtrend, lower highs almost every day, upper wicks of profit taking almost every day. We might get a bit of a rebound tomorrow. Even if we break today's low, we might get a rebound tomorrow, just because the red line will be far away from the price. So if we open here, red line's going to be up here, 4-day moving average. Open here, maybe it might run up to that 4-day moving average and can make a good day trade on it. Apple still showing some strength. Lower wick of buying the dip today on the FOMC dump. Indecision candlestick though. The market's a little bit uncertain. High volume near the highs on these days. That I don't see as a good sign. This is a clear resistance area on Apple. I think a break of today's range could decide whether we're going to see continuation or not. Are we able to break this recent high? $130.89, or are we going to reject that and pull back lower and test this low? Now it's quite a big range, so I'd be looking for Apple to trade within this range before deciding the next direction. Shopify took off today. I'm not sure why. Maybe some news came out, but this is a critical resistance area for Shopify. You see this big gap down over here. So now it's testing this area, and this was a breakaway gap to the downside, which suggested a change in the trend from an uptrend to a downtrend. And now we're retesting that area. So this is a very critical resistance area on Shopify. Question is, can it fill this gap? I'm expecting the bears to act over here. If we even get a gap up or something, I wouldn't be surprised we pull back to the red line, because if we're up here, the red line's going to be down here. We might open high and pull back and not fill that gap, because that would be a clear profit taking and shorting area for the bears. We're getting overbought on the daily. Volume's getting higher, bit of a volume spike today, getting overextended. Clearly the stock is hot right now. I'm not sure why. It's been going up recently, been running. I think it's squeezing, because I'm sure there's a lot of bears on this stock, because fundamentally, based on revenue and stuff, they're quite a bit overvalued. So there's a lot of bears on this stock, that's for sure, and they've been getting squeezed recently, but they might get a chance, as this is a critical resistance area. And tech stocks are doing okay. Some of them are doing good. I mean, we look at Amazon. Amazon's up, and Amazon and Shopify, they're in the same sector. They're both in e-commerce. So I can imagine if you look at a lot of the e-commerce stocks, they're green. eBay, Amazon, Shopify. I'm sure if I looked at a lot of other ones, they would have showed some strength today, because that's what correlation is. Industries in the same sector, stocks in the same sector tend to move with each other. And if you look at the banks, most of the banks were up. TD, green. BMO, green. Bank of Nova Scotia, green. CIBC, green. So sectors in the same industry tend to move together. That's what we're getting with Amazon and Shopify. Amazon up here. Bit of a volume spike today, so I would see that as a bit of a concern. It's getting a bit overbought. It is a bit overextended. Okay, we broke the daily higher low pattern today, though, without follow through. Amazon is getting really close to that all-time highs. Not too sure here. It was a double top before. Can we retest this area and pass and hold it as a support? That's a key question here. I'm going to take a look at the indexes in the next video. And with that, I mean, it's really going to depend on the indexes. I can't imagine NASDAQ pulling back and Amazon going all-time highs. But we shall see. Roblox, I don't know what happened today. I didn't check the news. But clearly, whoever bought for a double bottom the other day, and I was one of them, but I didn't hold. I bought, it ran up a $1.50. I took profits. I was out. I actually posted that trade in my course. And so since it broke that support today, big follow through on the downside, indecision candlestick, big volume. I'm unsure what to think of here. This is a big range now we're looking at, between a low of $79.88 and a high of $86.42. It ended right in the middle. I would expect it to trade within this range for the next day or two before deciding the next direction. This big volume spike could signal it might be a good time to buy, but I'm not sure what news came out over here, why it dropped that much. And let's take a look at this stock. It was trending today, ORPH. I don't know what went on here. Is this the daily? This is the daily chart. Looks interesting. Dead stock for so long. Hit all-time highs recently. Big pullback, upper wick of profit taking. Now, there wasn't high volume on this move before, which is interesting. And this move's got a lot higher volume today. Although it ended fairly weak. Big upper wick of profit taking. Okay. It's a bit far from the red line, but it did end above the upper daily Bollinger Band, so that's a good sign. Weekly, I mean, there's not too much data here on the longer term chart. Now let's look at this. Could this be a bull flag on the hourly chart? It looks like it has potential to be a bull flag, although I would be concerned because it broke out here. It was a fake out, big upper wick of profit taking, and the highest volume was at the highs, and the volume's dropping off as the price drops. And I see that as a red flag. So ideally, what you want to see, if this is going to see continuation, is you want to see a big spike in volume, maybe tomorrow morning opens lower, and then the price goes above that candlestick, that there's a spike in volume trapping all the bears and stuff and whoever short it and whoever panic sold, and then it goes up from there to retest this price area first, 1990, before potentially retesting up here the high of today. If there's a big volume spike flush to the downside and then there's a big move up to trap those shorts, that's what I look for. If we open high and there's a big volume spike and then it drops below that candle of the volume spike, then it would just trap a lot more people in the red, and that wouldn't be a good sign. So if I was going to enter a trade here, I want to see a big volume spike at a low, gap down tomorrow morning, and then it run above that volume spike and trap whoever shorted it in the red. That's what I'd be looking for. But again, trading these stocks, these kind of stocks, very risky. Sounds like a biopharma stock. I've gotten burned on a lot of biopharma stocks before, and I don't really recommend them. So I'm going to leave that here. Going to make a few other videos with gold and the indexes and crypto, so check that out soon. Thanks.